Survey says that retail investors are cautiously optimistic about the markets, but they were not actually doing much investing in April. That's according to the latest survey from Investopedia. Editor-in-Chief Caleb Silver is here on set to dive into the results. It's always nice to see you, Caleb. Why have they backed off?
Well, I think it's funny because investors find a reason to believe one way or the other. They're looking for a reason to believe. They're just not putting their money where their beliefs or their mouth is. They want things to continue to get better. They want the market to continue to rise. Of course, that's the optimism of the herd. But the first couple of weeks of April, some of the slowest inflows into stocks from retail investors since the pandemic, since 2020, that tells you nobody was putting money to work. Some of that is tax season. Some of that is just a lack of appetite. There was a mini little reversal right there. So there's some fear still built in there. They just would like to get more enthusiastic. They're not there yet.
They still like the big stocks, though, in terms of the top reader stocks of April. The usual suspects, ExxonMobil is on that list. Now, is that a new development or?
That's always kind of circled the top 10. Sometimes it pops in. Now it's been a good stock. Oil stocks in general have been good performers. And we've got to remember a lot of our readers and investors are around 45 years old or older. So they've been in the market a long time. Old faithfuls, dividend paying stocks, but also these large mega cap tech stocks. And they say, though, that they're worried some of those are in a bubble, yet they still would buy them if they could.
Yeah, 60% say AI-related stocks are overvalued. So that's interesting, maybe not surprising. In terms of the extra 10K question, if you had an extra $10,000, it's still stocks.
Yeah, it's still individual stocks. Remember, this is a stock-loving crowd. Individual, self-directed investors looking to put money to work. They just haven't had that enthusiasm. There was some dip buying. We did see that at the end of April. But in general, you just don't find that. Let's go. Higher highs mean higher highs. There's uncertainty, and inflation is the top concern. Guess what? It's also the Fed chair's top concern, too. So.
We were talking in the break just about some interesting new searches being done on Investopedia. There's some real interest in terms of what's going on in campuses across the country and the protests there, interest in what is an endowment, things like that. Yeah,
people are really waking up to the fact that universities have these multi-billion-dollar endowments, and you've seen some of the protest calls for these universities to divest from companies that are doing business with or for Israel, and some of those are the biggest companies in the world. So it's prompting a lot of people to search, what does it mean to have an endowment? Where are endowments invested? What does divestment mean? Does divestment work? This has really brought up a lot of conversations about where the big money goes, and we know these universities have a lot of big money.
What about the kind of high uber speculative stuff like Bitcoin, which have had a big pullback, and meme stocks, but where's the retail investors' appetite for highly spec?
Yeah, they got a lot more interested with the release of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, but I think since then they've seen prices be volatile and then drop quite a bit. So of the 8 or 10% that were already in it, we didn't have a lot more people rushing into it. We have a lot more people being speculative, waiting to see what happens here. Not a big appetite for risk right now, just this cautious optimism. We hope things are going to be okay. Usually they are. We have to see if they will be.